Hey guys, and welcome to Top Channel 101. So today we're going to be doing this type of scene, something you would see in a series like The Last of Us. Let's jump right into it. So this model is something I got off of a Sketchfab, and I'll be leaving a link to where I got the model. You can see how everything looks. I have a lot of vegetation. You can see how I started. I meant to have more renders of the progress, but I forgot to render them out. It was the beginning stage of the project, and here we have the final thing. I haven't done any Photoshop touches or anything. This is just straight out of Cycles. And yeah, let me show how I approach the project. So I knew I was going to have a lot of graffiti like this. What I decided to do, instead of just going into the mesh and texture it itself, you can see the columns only have this texture. And let me show you a quick breakdown of that. So I have two layers of paint. I have the red paint and the white paint, and that separation is just from the position. Let me to note, I separated the Z component from the XYZ, and I used a greater than mask to add that line there, and I'm using this add math node to just adjust the position of the gradient, and then I can use that to mix the two colors. And I also have a texture here that I'm using, and I'm also creating a mask from this texture just to break up this gradient a bit, so that I can blend two colors, the white and red, actually this texture and then this paint here, to get this. I also jump in here. I also use the same texture, the same mask, this mask here. I use it as the bump map here. I usually like to add a color ramp in the bump map so that I don't have all the detail, so that I can cut out some of the detail. I think it looks much better if you have less detail in the bump map than if we say just throw everything in there. It doesn't look as good as something like this, I think. So now let's go to how I made these graffiti. Show you how this looks in Cycles. Yeah, you can see how that looks. I've turned off all the grass because grass is a bit heavy. Let me try and bring that back here. You wouldn't know that these are just stickers instead of textures. I also have them here. That's a stick as well. I also have them on the car. Basically everywhere. It makes texturing quite easy, adding detail quite easy. You can see I also have them on this wall here. You'd think that this is a texture, but it's just another sticker that I have there to add water damage. Let me show you quickly how I did those. I was using my quick decals add-on for that. Let me first turn off the grass so that the viewport is more responsive. I'm going to show you two ways using the quick decals add-on and just doing it normally. So yeah, using the quick decals add-on, it becomes very simple. You just have to find a directory or a folder where you have the gravity by just going add directory and just selecting that, and it should show up here. So let's say we want to add something like this. I just select where you want to add it, import decal, and just align it like that. You want to have something, you want to use something that has an alpha channel, an image that has an alpha channel. But if it doesn't, you can use this use color channel to extract an alpha mask from the image. But since this has an alpha mask, you can just use the use alpha mask, and it should add that for you. Then if you want to break this up a bit, because you can see right now it's a bit too clean, I can use a custom alpha mask, maybe a grunge map like this. It will help you break up the texture a bit so that it doesn't look too clean. What this quick decals add-on is doing is just adding the necessary nodes to set this up. You can see it's just adding the alpha channel, mixing them together with a different image to create an alpha channel. Nothing fancy, but I'm just adding that functionality within a few clicks of a button so that you can easily add that. And now we have this, so we want to have it plastered on the wall like a decal. All you have to do is scroll down and add a shrink wrap, and then select the object you want to wrap this on. I have these subdivision levels that you have to increase. After that, the mesh has enough resolution to be projected onto the surface, and sometimes you need to rotate it to wrap correctly. I think I need to go back to my custom alpha and just reduce the intensity of that so that this looks correct. You can see now that is good. Again, I'm doing it here. I'm using the quick decos add-on to do this here. So that was the decos. I have them here, I have them here, I have them there. I also have them at the back of the wall just to add some nice detail. And like I said, I also have them. I have the same decos for this here. I could also do the same thing here. Just duplicate this, scale it up. And the nice thing about using the add-on is that you can even switch out this texture. So let me see. Let me go to my walls. I can switch out that texture for another texture, maybe this here. I can switch the image, and now I have a crack onto the wall. I need to change the alpha channel a bit. I think I need to use image alpha because and now I have a crack into a surface. Of course, then you just have to, for these parts that are not supposed to be there, you can just use a knife tool and cut that part out. If you look at the final render here, you can see that we had some water, and let me show you how I did that. So the water was simple. I just a concrete surface, a mesh, and I added this concrete texture, which is just layers and layers of different images mixed together like that. So this is mixed with that to get this concrete surface. And then the water, this is the water surface. It's just, again, a few layers of different textures blended with a noise texture. This mostly goes into the bump so that the water has some bump surface, some bumpy surface, just like that. It's more like mud than water. Then I blend the two textures, or the two materials, this and the concrete and the water material, using texture painting to get water like that, water painted like that. And I can even come back in here. I just need to make sure that I have the right image selected. Okay, so you can see I can even paint more. So that was the water. Then I scatter some debris. I also use some Megascan assets to add in detail. Then I knew I wanted to have a bunch of grass on every pole like this, so I used the quick trees add-on and put in a few of these trees, scattered them around, and added them into a collection called weeds. And I also made sure that this collection was at the center of the world. This is very important because we're going to be using instances. When you're dealing with vegetation like this, you want to take advantage of instances, otherwise the project is going to become very, very heavy really quickly. So with this weed instance, I started instancing it everywhere. Let me see where I start. Yeah, you can see the same instance. I have it here, but a bit rotated here. Also rotated, the same here, same bunch of grass in different spots. From there, I knew I wanted to add in some vines, and I'm using this asset here. I use it quite a lot. It's a very, very simple vine based off a curve and geometry nodes. I have a lot of it. So let me first isolate this for a bit. You can see it here. You can adjust the leaves, you can adjust the number of vines, and it's what I'm using everywhere like that. You can change the height of the vines. I'm using it here, using it, and since this is based off a curve, you can see I can curve this into a shape, any shape I want, and it will follow other curves like that. I think you can see that everywhere. Unfortunately, the material I use for this doesn't render with Eevee, but it works fine with cycles. You can see it's this kind of grass growing on top of the car. So to make the grass grow on top of the car, it was very easy. I just used a shrink wrap. If I turn this off, you can see it's just a a simple plane like that. If I turn on the shrink wrap, then it wraps on top of the car. And when you're rendering, make sure that in the display you don't have viewport or and render turned on, otherwise you'll see the emitter render as well. It's just a hair system, and you can see the material. I'm just using a hair material like this. White paint to decide what parts of the mesh I'm painting on. I can basically paint more, can bring back the car, and you can see how that looks. I also have these pipes here. This is a pipe generator from my quick generators, which I've updated. You can see how this looks. This generator here is what I'm using to generate these pipes. It's also based off a curve. Everything else I think is very easy to explain. Another thing maybe I would like to show finally is I made an update on the quick functions add-on. If you have it, I see that you can do. Let me just open up a new project here. I can easily switch to EV or cycles up here, and let me first go to render mode here. You can see how usually this is how you start a project. It's too boring for me, so I decided to make it a bit more interesting. So with one click, with one click, you can just add a sun and a sky, which are all linked together. To show you how this works, I can also add an infinite plane that comes with a texture. Now, if I add a cube, let me select the sun, and you can change the sun settings directly here. So if I increase the sunlight to maybe 50 and the strength of the sky to 0.5, all in one panel instead of just going out here, you can see that I can change the direction of the sun or the direction of the sky. If I switch to cycles, you can see how. Let me first reduce the sun energy to 0. You can see I can change the direction of the sky by just rotating the sun, so that you're not just guessing where the sun is. You can just use the sun. You can even increase the sun size here, and you can see it's aligned to the sun. So let's jump into the time lapse and see how we made this work.